Is a new Cold War brewing between the US and Russia? The headlines are screaming, but what's really happening? Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that feels ripped straight from a history book. But it's happening right now. The increasingly tense relationship between the United States and Russia. Many are calling it a new Cold War, but is that accurate? Let's break it down. First, let's rewind. The original Cold War, which lasted from the late 1940s to 1991, was an ideological battle between two superpowers, the capitalist United States and the communist Soviet Union. It was a global struggle for influence, fought through proxy wars, an intense arms race, and the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. When the Soviet Union collapsed, it felt like the world had breathed a collective sigh of relief. A new era of cooperation seemed possible. For a while, it was. Russia, in the 1990s, was focused inward, dealing with massive economic and political turmoil. Relations with the West were generally cooperative. But things started to change with the rise of Vladimir Putin. He saw the collapse of the Soviet Union as a major geopolitical disaster and set out to restore Russia's status as a great power on the world stage. So, where do the tensions come from today? A major flashpoint was NATO expansion. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a military alliance formed to counter the Soviet Union, began expanding eastward, incorporating former Soviet bloc countries. From Moscow's perspective, this was a direct threat, a breach of an unspoken promise that NATO wouldn't expand 1 inch eastward. The West, however, argued that these were sovereign nations free to choose their own alliances. This fundamental disagreement set the stage for much of the conflict to come. Then came the color revolutions in Georgia and Ukraine in the early 2000s. These were popular uprisings that brought pro-Western governments to power. Russia viewed these events as Western-orchestrated coups designed to peel away countries from its sphere of influence. The tension boiled over in 2008 when Russia went to war with Georgia, and escalated dramatically in 2014. After a pro-Russian president in Ukraine was ousted, Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula and backed separatist forces in eastern Ukraine. This was a seismic event. It was the first time since World War II that a European country had annexed territory from another. The West responded with sanctions, and relations plunged to their lowest point since the Cold War. But this isn't just about territory, it's a battle fought on new fronts. Take cyber warfare, for example. We've seen accusations of Russian interference in the 2016 US presidential election. Massive cyberattacks like the SolarWinds hack that targeted US government agencies and widespread disinformation campaigns on social media. The goal isn't just to steal data, but to sow discord, undermine trust in democratic institutions, and weaken Western societies from within. This is a key feature of modern hybrid warfare, a blend of conventional and unconventional tactics. Energy politics is another battleground. Europe is heavily dependent on Russian natural gas. This gives Moscow significant leverage. Projects like the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, designed to bypass Ukraine and deliver gas directly to Germany, became huge points of contention seen by the US and Eastern European nations as a tool for Russia to increase its political influence over Europe. The ability to turn the gas taps on or off is a powerful weapon without firing a single shot. Then there's the military dimension. Both sides are modernizing their arsenals. Russia has developed new hypersonic missiles that it claims can evade all existing missile defense systems. The US is investing heavily in its own advanced weaponry and strengthening its military presence in Eastern Europe. Old arms control treaties, which were cornerstones of stability during the original Cold War, have been crumbling. For example, the US withdrew from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, or INF Treaty, in 2019, citing Russian violations. This has raised fears of a new, unchecked arms race. We also see this competition playing out globally. In Syria, Russia intervened militarily to prop up the Assad regime, directly clashing with US objectives in the region. In Africa and Latin America, Russia is expanding its influence through private military contractors like the Wagner Group, arms sales, and political deals, challenging Western dominance. It's a global chess game with each side vying for influence and strategic advantage. So back to our original question. Is this a new Cold War? There are crucial differences. First, the ideological component is less clear-cut. Today's Russia isn't promoting a global communist revolution. It's more about a clash of political systems. liberal democracy versus a kind of authoritarian nationalism. Russia positions itself as a defender of traditional values against what it portrays as a decadent, liberal West. Second, the world is no longer bipolar. China has emerged as a major global power, creating a more complex tripler dynamic. The US now faces two major strategic rivals, not just one. In fact, the growing partnership between Russia and China, a no-limits friendship, as they've called it, is one of the most significant geopolitical developments of our time. They share a common goal of countering EU's global leadership. Third, economic interdependence is far greater today than it was during the original Cold War. Despite the sanctions and political hostility, Western economies are still intertwined with Russia's, especially in the energy sector. This creates a strange dynamic where we are simultaneously rivals and economic partners, a situation that would have been unthinkable during the Soviet era. However, the similarities are also striking. We have two nuclear-armed powers with deeply conflicting worldviews. We see proxy conflicts, an arms race in new technologies, espionage, and propaganda campaigns. There's a deep, pervasive mistrust on both sides, with each interpreting the other's actions in the most negative light possible. The full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 marked a dramatic and horrifying escalation. It shattered the post-Cold War security order in Europe and triggered the most severe confrontation between Russia and the West in decades. The US and its allies responded with unprecedented sanctions aimed at crippling the Russian economy and have provided massive military and financial aid to Ukraine. This has turned the conflict in Ukraine into a de facto proxy war between Russia and the collective West. So, what happens next? The future is incredibly uncertain. Some analysts believe we are in a long-term confrontation that will define international politics for years to come. Others hope that channels of communication can be kept open to manage the risks, especially the nuclear risk, and prevent the conflict from spiraling out of control. Diplomacy, while incredibly difficult, remains essential. This isn't a simple story of good versus evil. It's a complex web of history, security fears, economic interests, and national pride. Understanding these different perspectives is the first step to navigating this dangerous new era. It is a conflict that is just happening over there. It affects global energy prices, cybersecurity, and the very stability of the world we all live in. What do you think? Are we in a new Cold War? Or is this something entirely different? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is a crucial conversation for all of us to have. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the events shaping our world. Stay curious and see you in the next one.